Good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful Saturday morning here, and I'm going to try to knock a few things out on the Mustang while I've got a little bit of time. Still trying to get it good enough where I feel like I could drive it to work. It's about 25 miles down there, so yeah, going to knock out a few things today. Got some parts lined up. Going to try to get the door weather stripping in, trunk weather stripping, although that's not really all that important. I've got the parts, and then really what I want to do is be able to park it outside, which means getting the driver's side glass in. And so I've got some new window felts, and hopefully I've got all the parts to stick this glass in this side, and then I could roll up the windows and let it sit outside. I guess the other couple problems that are keeping me from driving it are no brake lights, no turn signals. So I got this new switch. I think that's the problem. So we'll get in there, replace that. And then the other problem is the rear tires, especially on the driver's side, are hitting the fender. So I borrowed this fender roller, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to try to mash this lip in a little bit. You can see just from that little bit of driving I did how the fender's rubbing on that. So I'm going to try to mash that back and make that so I can drive it without hitting all the time. Don't need to get any flat tires. So where do we start? I think I'm going to start with the easy stuff, which is not how I should attack projects, but I'm going to pop the trunk lid off, flip that over, and try to stick that trunk weather stripping on, and then probably move on to the window weather stripping, get these strips back up on there, and yeah, probably go for the brake light switch after that. So all right, let's get started. Here we go on the deck lid seal. Got the new seal laid out here, made sure it fit. I think I'm going to put it, you can see that one side's got the sharp edge there. I'm going to put that facing down towards the deck lid. Got this cleaned up, scuffed up. Yeah, I guess not much to it other than to stick it on there, spread it around a little bit, and I got to go find some tape. And probably I'll tape this in place as I go around here. Hopefully it goes good. I'll let you know. Well, that's going pretty good. All I got to do is kind of go around, stick there. Spread this stuff out a little bit. Then I got just ripped off a piece of cardboard. Go back, smear it out, and put a little bit on the other side, and it's been sticking really good. It dries, the stuff sets up pretty quick, so no issue. Just trim it to length, and let's move on. I had Ruby come out and help me set the lid back on. It actually closes awesome now, doesn't rattle anymore. I did adjust the fit a little bit, because you know that matters. So that's one thing checked off the list. Next up is the window trim. Now when I took this off, it had a little bit of some sort of sealant on the back side, so I'm going to use that same 3M black stuff and smear a little bit on the back of that before I screw that up on there. When I did the headliner, I did kind of paint that, clean up the rust in there a little bit. So yeah, next step is window seals. Got both sides of weather stripping for the door in here. That's all in there pretty good. I rolled up this window. You can actually see the spray paint all over it up here and down along the bottom. I think that window, you can adjust it in. See, it's kicked out there a long ways. But I think what I'm going to do first is take some steel wool and brake cleaner or some sort of chemical and try to get all that spray paint off the glass, clean up the windows, peel off those old stickers, and then maybe go work on the other side since it's already apart and figure out how to put the glass in there. And I think as I do that, I can figure out how to adjust the angle of the glass here so it seals up better. Well, quick cleanup there makes that glass look way better. Ran some steel wool around the trim there too. Makes it look good. I think I'm gonna try to just avoid figuring out how to put the glass on the other side. I'm going to tear into that steering column and see if I can figure out how to get this switch installed. Looks like the wires have to run down inside the steering column. So I'll tear into that and see if I can figure it out. So far so good. I found the two connectors that are down here coming out of the steering column. D-pin those connectors. There's just a little tiny clip. Never going to be able to see it here, but there's a little tiny tang that sticks out. You just have to get behind it with a screwdriver, push it in, and the wires will pull out. I took pictures of where the wires go, but it looks like they pretty much match up to the colors of what's there. So yeah, I think everything down here is disconnected. Now if I watched a video, yeah, you just push in and turn that pops off. And I'll grab an impact and zip that nut up there and see if I can just yank the steering wheel off. Nut came off easy, but yeah, I kind of just yanked the steering wheel off. So I dug around my stuff, found a steering wheel puller, and hopefully this will just come right off here. It's like I'm going to need to use both hands. Check back later. Okay, with the steering wheel puller, that popped right off there, no problem. Now it looks like there's a couple of little Phillips screws back up in there somewhere. That cover needs to come off, or the back cover needs to come off. Turn signal stock, that's loose, that comes right out. And then I think I should be able to yank that and slide that all the way through. Looking good. Pulled out some screws in the front here. I don't know if I needed to pull that back cover off. Probably, yeah, I guess I do, to fish those wires through the hole back there. So 2 screws hold that cover on and 3 screws hold the whole switch assembly in. So I think I just need to gently pull. Well, that just went amazingly smooth. I thought I'd have to fight to get those wires back down through there, but I taped them up in a few spots and then just gently pushed them down through the hole here little by little, and there they came out down to the bottom end. So that's awesome. I'm gonna, looks like I have to kind of gently align all these wires when I put everything back together here. So give me a second to do that, and hopefully in a couple of minutes we'll plug this in and see if we have brake lights. All right, we got updates. Put that turn signal switch in there. Still no brake lights, no turn signals. So problem is further down the road. I was just troubleshooting, starting at the switch here. Got the connector disconnected, just ohm meter on it. So when I push on the brake pedal, got continuity, so that switch is good. Yeah, so hate troubleshooting electrical stuff, but looks like that's the direction I'm headed here. Brake light success. I really don't know what I did. I just pretty much just started cleaning contacts all the way from the brake switch back. And right now I've got a jumper across the switch, so I've got brake lights. Turn signals come on and just stay on. They don't flash when I turn them on. So I'm gonna go look at that flasher, find the flasher under there somewhere next, and see if I can get turn signals working. Then one step closer to driving it to work. Well, I'm gonna spend some time here and try to get the rear tire to clear the fender. I was hoping to use this fancy tool here, but it just doesn't seem like it'll adjust short enough. It needs to have an angle like that, but up underneath the lip. So I think I'm just gonna grab the hammer and start tapping on it. I'm not worried about hurting this quarter panel. It is rough. Someday it might get replaced, but for now I just want to be able to drive the thing without ripping the tires to shreds. Yeah, I guess grab the ball peen hammer and start tapping. Beating on the fender here quickly turned into what do I have for rims that I can fit on here and see how it looks. So what was on there was a 14x7 with a 4-inch back spacing. And it was definitely rubbing, so a little more back spacing would help. I have this set of rims that I just got from a friend. They are 15x7s with a 4.5 back spacing. They're basically flush with the fender. And then I remembered I had this set of late model Mustang wheels, or later model, off like a 96 Cobra. And they are 17x8s with about a 5 3/4 back spacing. And I just had they are at least inside the fender. So I think if I do go forward with building these 15x8s with a custom back spacing like I want to do, I'm going to need pretty much 6 inches of back spacing, which it's hard to see under here, but there is plenty of room between the springs and everything else up there to go back in a little bit more. So yeah, of course, as I started beating on it, Bondo started cracking, which I expected. Yeah, I don't know. Tap on a little bit more and throw back on that 14-inch and maybe take it for a drive and see if that helped at all. Otherwise, maybe this is definitely not the look I'm going for. I do not like these late model wheels on the old cars, but I might have to run it around here like this for a little bit just to keep driving. For comparison's sake, here's those little 14-inch wheels, and I can't get my camera back around there, but there's about a ½ inch sticking out. So that means the tire's out from the fender. So yeah, this one's not going to work. And actually, as I was looking at here, those tires are not only chewed up now, but they're cracked. Probably not really very safe to drive, but before it rains here this afternoon, I think I'm going to take this for a little quick trip around the block here. So I guess that's next. All right, funny update. Something's messed up with the turn signal switch, because as I turn the steering wheel, the horn's gonna honk. Just drove past the neighbors and they're looking at me like I'm idiots. So, might have to pull over up here and figure out where the horn is and disconnect it. I didn't even think it had a horn on it. So I've got those late model Cobra wheels on the back. That seems to fix the tire rubbing problem. That horn issue, I just disconnected the horn, but when I threw this center thing off there, take a look at that. Actually says Falcon Sprint on that backside, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, that Mustang center cup popped off when I chucked that over to the side. Some of our Amish friends coming at us here. Well, turn signals work, the brake lights work. Sadie's got a happy spot in the back seat, fits her perfectly. Let's see, what else, what's next? Probably got to decide if I'm going to tear into that front end. I think I might roll the dice and try to drive this down to work. It's about a 50-mile round trip, and see if these old front tires will make it. Yeah, it's looking pretty good so far. We're off this morning on the way to work, and it's about 25 miles down there. Got a full tank of gas, checked all the tire pressure, the fluids, spear bag and some basic tools, and we're gonna go for it. A little worried last night when I took it for a little test drive. It would crank really fast like normal, and then after about the third hit, it cranked really slow. So I don't know if the starter's dying. I did check all the battery connections, and it still kept doing it. So not sure what's up with that. Kind of seemed like a bad ground somewhere. So yeah, it's a beautiful morning. Got the windows down, cruising to work. Let's see if we make it. So far so good. We're about probably 4 or 5 miles away from work, and it's actually running great. Of course, I don't have a temperature gauge, so I don't know how it's doing that wise, but it doesn't smell hot. It's running fine. Probably the only thing I wish I had a window. It's kind of cool this morning. Would have liked to roll that up. And been using my phone for GPS speed. Speedometer doesn't work. Cable's not hooked up. But yeah, looks like we're heading into some fog here. I think we're gonna make it. Hope I don't jinx myself. Great news, I made it home safely. Although when I got out of the car and took a look at the front tire, I don't think I had much time left here. That crack right there, all the way around the tire, is not supposed to be there. And the weather checking, actually touching it here, it's bulged out. There wasn't a lot of time left on these tires. So I guess that's going to be my inspiration to actually tear into this thing and go after the 5-lug front disc conversion. I was hoping to drive it around a little bit more, but there's no use putting tires on these rims. Let's just go for it. All right, first side is torn down. Right front is disassembled pretty much completely, other than that tie rod down there. Let's take a look at the junk I've got here. So I was hoping to reuse the upper control arm, but that one, you can see the shock mount is completely destroyed. So might as well replace that. Shocks should probably be replaced. Shock mount is destroyed. Kind of the weird thing is somebody had definitely been into these brakes not that long ago. Everything is basically brand new. New wheel cylinders, hubs. Drum isn't even rusty.
which is too bad, but does no use to me. It doesn't look too bad in here. Like I mentioned before, I am going to do the Shelby drop. I've got a little template that bolts up in here in those two control arm holes. You know, they're kind of wallowed out right there, you can see. So I have to do my best to line that up and drill some more. Let's, man, I'm already dirty and stinky, so I might as well tear apart the other side while I have this whole mess of tools out. Victory! Both sides are apart. This side fought me a little bit harder because I couldn't get that shock mount out. Somebody had patched this side by welding in the whole shock mount, so I couldn't take that out to ease that tension on that spring. So I fought that pretty hard. Otherwise, everything else is pretty much the same shape as the other side. New parts in the brakes, old worn out parts for the suspension linkage. Oh, I forgot to say on the other side, there is a crazy amount of stuff loose on this car. Some of those bolts were slightly better than finger tight. And I'm talking the bolts that are holding the suspension together. That lower inner control arm bolt was absolutely loose. The castle nuts on the ball joints were slightly better than finger tight, but definitely not where they should have been. So it's probably a good thing I'm tearing into this. I'm gonna have to buy a few more parts than I thought I had, or thought I was going to need to. I was hoping to reuse those upper control arms, but they're junk. So yeah, I guess the next step over here is disassemble and clean up of these Granada spindles, which that shouldn't be too bad. All right, I'm done for tonight. I'm sweating pretty bad. It's hot, humid. Time to go to take a shower.
Good morning, everybody. It's a Friday morning. I've got the day off. We got a couple hours here before we're leaving on a little trip, so I need to clean up. Everything's a mess after thrashing the other night. I did get a few parts come in since then. The upper control arms, shocks, what else? I think that's about it. Still waiting for the spring purchase to come in. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna clean up here a little bit, and maybe if I get time, over here I've got this template for doing the Shelby drop on the front control arms. So I might drill that this morning too. Have a little fun. All right, it's cleanup time.
Here we go, time to drill some holes in this shock tower. You can see that at some point that control arm must have got loose and it's all wallowed out. So here's my template. When I hold that in there and I bolt it up, I'm gonna hold it up top of the holes. I think that's where they're originally supposed to be. Just got a couple 1/2-inch bolts, a center punch, a sharp drill bit, and bolt it up there and poke some holes through there and then open it all the way up to just a little over 1/2 inch, it looks like. Got the drill jig bolted in there, tightened up, held up to the top, arrows pointing the right way. So I think I'm ready to start drilling. There it is, one side done. Actually, it went pretty good. I tried to use my step drill bit there, but it was too dull, so I got out this fresh, sharp set of drill bits I've got and ran it through there. Ended up running up to the hardware store and buying a 17/32 drill bit, which I guess is the proper size. So this side should be good. On to the other. Knocked out, finished that part. I took a wire wheel and started to knock some of the crap off there, but man, it's so nasty. I decided just to do the little bit. Someday maybe I'll do the pressure wash the rest of it and knock it down and paint it. But for now, I got done what's going to be behind the control arm. I think what I'm going to do next with another few minutes of time is try to break down these old Granada calipers. Well, other than being a mess, that actually wasn't too bad. None of those bolts were stuck. That one that I was worried about getting out that holds the caliper slider thing in came out easy. All those backplate bolts came out fine, so yeah, it looks like hell, but get it cleaned up and be ready to spray some paint and put it back on. I'm gonna hit the other one and then probably be done for the day here. Oh, this backplate here is unfortunately rusted. I don't know if I'll be able to reuse that. I'd like to, because this little plastic hair scoop that was on there was kind of neat, but yeah, on to the next one. Kids got their dirt bikes out tonight, but I'm back here, got the spindles kind of sandblasted and quickly masked off here. Nothing fancy again, but I'm gonna shoot them with a little black paint, and hopefully this weekend I'll be able to put stuff together far enough to figure out what I'm missing next. Okay, here we go. Family's away tonight, so I think I'm gonna start putting this together and see what I'm missing. I think I've got enough to get it mocked up. Try to get the suspension on first, not really worry about the brakes. Hey Sadie. I think I got to start with getting the coil springs put back together. I've got new perches, I got the spindles cleaned up, got new upper and lower control arms, tie rods, shocks, the springs, let's see, it's not springs, but the spring little rubber pieces there. And got everything cleaned up under there, as good as it's going to get for now. So yeah, I think I'm going to figure out how to set up the camera here, maybe try to put this on time lapse and see what I can get to put together tonight. Well, that didn't work. Kind of have to restart. I thought I could use these external coil spring compressors. That's kind of how I got it off, but I struggled to get it off. No way it's going to work going back on. So I just ran to O'Reilly's, got this spring compressor. I tried to drop that down from the top. I did watch a couple YouTube videos and saw what I was doing wrong. So hopefully that's close enough to the right tool that I can make it work. It's not exactly the right thing, but might work. The other thing I thought of is I had planned on cutting these springs, but I really want to see how much lower it goes just with that Shelby A-arm drop. So I think I'm going to struggle, put these in without cutting them, and then probably take it back apart, cut them again. I'd like to do a little bit extra work. Well, now that we're making enough progress to kind of have something together, I've run into another problem. These super cheap spring perches I've bought, I think it is the spring perch. The bolt pattern is slightly different than what's in there. I was trying to get that one started and I can't get the bolts in. I grabbed the old one. I don't know if I can't do it while I'm holding the camera here, but these drop right into those holes. So I think the control arm's good. What I'm gonna have to do is drill out these holes, get the drill and drill bits there, open them up a little bit and see if I can open it up enough that the bolts will start. The other problem I see is I think the head of these bolts, when they do actually get started, maybe they will just barely clear that radius in there. All right, time to cobble some stuff up. Well, guys, I'm beat. It's been a night. It's way harder to put together than I thought, partially because I don't have all the right tools. I invented about 12 ways to do it wrong before I got things together. But everything's just sitting there. Nothing's snugged up yet. Yeah, not too bad. As I kind of thought, I don't have the right inner tie rod ends, but that shouldn't be a big deal to track some of those down. But everything's sitting together. It's pretty good. I think tomorrow I'm going to tackle the other side, get it this far before I move on to trying to put brakes on. And I'm going to head inside now and get on the internet and see if I can find some proper tie rods, inner tie rods. All right, good night, bye, guys.
Good morning. It's Saturday morning here. I'm ready to get the driver's side up to the same point as the passenger side. Got everything laid out here. I think the first thing I'm going to do is swap the 90 degrees grease zerks off the old upper control arm over there. Clean those up, and then hopefully it's going to go better this morning because I know the right order to do things in. So this shouldn't take too long. I think last night I was out here for over 3 hours just to get that one side together, but this should be way better. Well, this side wasn't bad. Like I said, it helps knowing what you're doing. I've got it together in about 45 minutes, maybe even a little bit less. Up to that same point, I did go online last night and order some inner tie rods. Unfortunately, they won't be here till Tuesday. So I think what I'm going to do next to keep things moving is I'd really like to see how far the front end's lowered with just that control arm drop. So I'm going to set the rotors on, put the wheels on, let it back down on the ground, bounce it around a little bit, see what it looks like before I tighten everything up. And that way, if I decide I want to, I can start cutting some coil off that spring to lower it a little bit more in the front. So yeah, next up is mock up the rotors. Would you look at that? We've got disc brakes on the front of this old Mustang. So I'm gonna set the wheels that were on the rear of it, the 5-lug aluminum wheels on there, put this back on the ground, bounce on it a little bit, and measure the height up to that line on the fender there, and see where it is. Before I tighten everything down, I do have to go get inner seals for those rotors. I thought they came with them, but after unpacking them, there's no seals. Clean up the wheel bearings and grease that up. Maybe we'll be setting it on the ground, but yeah, there's still lots to do. Then next is brake lines. Back on the ground. That Shelby drop made absolutely no difference. It's 26 inches to that mark before, and right now I've bounced it around a bit. It's between 26 and 26 and a half. So pretty much exactly where it was. So I'm going to take all that, or most of that, back apart, and I think I'm going to cut a half a coil off. Did some internet research, and quarter of a coil seems like a good step, but I'm going to go for a half, and then it'll be low. So we'll see. Okay, I've got let's see what I do. Half a coil cut out and everything put back together. This side looks like it's now about 24 3/4. So that's down 1.25 inches on the, where are we at? Passenger side. The other side I measured it and it's just a hint over 26. So I don't know, I bounced it around as good as I can, but I know that everything's got a lot of stiction in it, but you can see it is a bit lower in the front, which was good. I think I'm going to stop there. Not going to cut it any lower until I get the real tires I want on it. That does look quite a bit better. Now, what am I going to do next? I don't know. I think I'm going to clean up. I got a heck of a mess. Yeah, would have helped a lot to have the proper spring compressor tool. I may do with the O'Reilly's one, but this thing, you can get it done, but it's not the best. Yeah, I think I'm going to clean up and think about what comes next. All right, it's a beautiful Sunday morning. I'm back out here. I'm happy with the ride height for now. So I'm going to go through and tighten everything up, snug everything up, really put this together for real, and then move on to working on the brakes. I don't have all the parts I need, but I'll get the calipers mounted for real, grease these hubs, these bearings. Like I said, go through, tighten everything, install the sway bar links, and really shift focus onto the brakes here. So I'm going to disassemble the rotor, get out the tools again, go through, tighten up all the bolts, and yeah, get to work. Give it a sniff, Sadie. How's it look? Good? All right. All right, I've got the front suspension together as far as I can go without getting the tie rods. The feeling I haven't heard the end of that tie rod saga yet. I'm afraid that maybe those drag links and those other pieces need to be changed to a V8 car too, but I'm going to ignore that for now and going to move on to looking at the master cylinder. I bought this from CJ Pony. I hadn't used this before, but it's supposed to be a master that comes with a bracket and proportion valve and everything basically you need. Last time I did this, I had to mount the bracket or the proportion valve on a bracket I made off to the side and plumb everything, but I'll still have to probably replumb a bunch, but at least this gets me from the master to the proportioning valve. So I'm going to start by ripping off that old single pot master and seeing what other parts I'm missing, I guess. Didn't do anything. So I came in here and I spent about an hour just cleaning up wiring, sorting out hoses, spark plug wires, organizing them, replacing hose clamps. I must have replaced about 5-6 hose clamps. We're down on 3/8 fuel line where somebody had like 5/8 hose clamps on it, so it was just ugly. Kind of rerouted that starter cable. Now it's not great, but it's better. Oh yeah, so I just got under the car. You know, we thought the motor mounts were bad, and anyway, yeah, that motor mount is completely torn down the middle there. I don't know if I can get, there it is. You can see that rubber's supposed to be on one piece, so that definitely needs to be replaced. And maybe that motor is sitting there better and have better clearance over the exhaust manifold to the spark plug wires and shock tower over there. So I did buy a couple motor mounts, but I think they're the wrong ones. Let me get those out and see what they look like. Looks like I do have the right motor mount in stock. Here's the one that just came out of there, totally destroyed. This other one, it was on Rock Auto for like $7 in the clearance rack, so I went ahead and grabbed it, and good thing I did. Finally back at it again tonight. Another couple weeks has passed, as my kids say. It's been a hot minute, but I think I've got enough parts to keep going here. I've got a new drag link, new pitman arm,
inner tie rods, and the only thing that I'm really not sure of yet, and I'm about to find out here in a second, is if this pitman arm fits on this 6-cylinder steering box. Couldn't really find definitive information on the internet on that, so I'm going to get underneath here and see if I can figure that out quick. Here we go. Does this fit? Woohoo! Things are looking up. We may have finally turned the corner here on this front steering linkage. All right, I'm going to set everything together here. I guess I got to pop off that idler arm over there. And yeah, then I can start putting new stuff on. Well, of course I celebrated too soon. I thought I'd come over here, pop that old idler link off, and we'd be set. But this one, the 6-cylinder one, doesn't have a nut or anything to take it off. It's just like all one piece with a shaft that goes up and bolts to the frame. So, shit. I'm gonna go do some internet research and see if there's a way to take that apart. Either that or maybe the V8s have a different little mounting shaft there. My luck, that's probably the case. Here we go again for the who knows how many time. I finally have everything, hopefully, that I need. So this was the last piece that I was missing. This 6-cylinder little mount for the idler arm. The 6-cylinder mount for the idler arm here is all one piece with that idler. And here, these need to be able to bolt together. So I've got that, got the drag link. I set the pitman arm on the car. So now I think I'm going to set all this stuff together and hope it all fits, then snug it all down. Well, this may not look like much, but this is about 2 months worth of gathering parts. Only takes about half hour to assemble everything, but we've got new spindles, new upper and lower control arms, new inner and outer tie rods with adjuster sleeves, new drag link, new idler arm, new pitman arm, and all the same stuff over there. So other than going through and tightening everything down here, we've got a steering linkage that works. I can finally move on to working on the brakes like I had hoped to. So next up is master cylinder, hard lines, and hoses. And that, although it's a bit of a pain in the butt, isn't really that hard to work. So hopefully that shouldn't take more than a couple days. And then my next problem is I currently don't have any wheels that fit this. I guess I still have the set of 5-lug aluminums that came on it, but I sold the 96 Cobra wheels that were on the rear. So before I can really drive it again, I got to figure out wheels too. And that's in process, but I'm not sure what direction I'm going there yet. So I'm just going to sit here and enjoy the fact that we've got steering linkage that works. What a pain. I decided to start on the brakes here. And this master cylinder kit that I bought from CJ Pony, I would say it's not worth the money. That bracket doesn't fit right, puts the rear brake outlet way too close to the firewall. I just spent, what time is it? Probably an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours getting this far. So I've got the rear brake line hooked up, and I did that. You can see it down there. See that little union splice? Kept the rear brake line from there back, but made that little bit to connect to, and it just barely clears the firewall. That bracket doesn't really fit right. I don't know. I got it on there, and I'm going to go with it, but it's not great. So yeah, the master cylinder's on for real. Proportioning valve is on and tightened down, and the line to the rear is on. I kind of stopped at the 2 outlets to the front because, of course, I've got the wrong brake hoses up here. Don't fit into the calipers, so I had to run to O'Reilly's and order those. They won't be here till Tuesday, but yeah, we're getting closer. I think I'm just going to run new hard lines to each side of the front. That should make that easier. But pretty soon here, I'm going to have to figure out rims. And I've been kicking that can down the road, but I might just go online and order some stuff. I don't know. I had this idea of build my own rear wheels, but it's just not going to happen. And I want to drive this before fall. Okay. All right, a little change in plans here this afternoon. I'm going to try to work on this door. I don't remember if I said it or not, but that door or window frame on that one is all bent up. So a friend gave me this door that's got complete glass and everything in it. Hopefully the glass is good. I haven't rolled it up yet.
So I'm going to try to strip this thing down and get the glass out and try to transfer it into the other door. So pull the door panel off, pull the lever, pull the window crank, and hopefully none of these screws are too stuck. Let's check it out. Got the glass out of the old door, the used door. You can kind of see the difference here. So the one that is on, see, your left is the one I just pulled out of that door, and the one that's on the right, you see how it's bent, I guess, to the right here. That was keeping it from sliding down the track. So hopefully that's going to allow me to move forward here and get that door back together. So if I do get it back on the ground, I can set the car outside, and winter's going to be here pretty soon. Well guys, it's now mid-October and it's time to wrap up this video. Of course, I thought this would go quick, and now we're months down the road and still not back on the ground. I did put the 79 Mustang into storage, so I got this one shoved over to the side. So here's where I am. I finally, after 2 or 3 failed attempts at getting the right brake lines, I found some braided stainless ones online that I knew would fit, so I bought those even though they were more than I wanted to spend. So I gotta get those stuck on, run the hard lines to the front, and then the should be ready to bleed brakes. I did get that driver's side window glass installed. That works pretty much as good as you could hope without rebuilding the regulator. So I gotta finish that up a little bit. I've got the glass in there and it goes up and down, but I gotta get the door panel stuck in. That's no big deal. So yeah, that's pretty much gonna wrap this up for this video. And I'm still trying to figure out what to do with wheels, but I made a big step forward here. I found what I hope and think is gonna be the right width 9-inch rear end. It's out of a 57 Ford car. And what I'm hoping is I can take the axles, or not the axles, but the gear set out of the one that's in there, run with these axles, put those drum brakes on this rear end, and get it stuck in. So that'll be in the next video, but for now, I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna spend a little bit of time working here today, try to button up these brakes, button up that door, and tear into the rear end. All right, thanks for watching. Click subscribe, and hopefully we'll have this thing back on the ground before snow actually flies, although it's probably not more than a month or so away. Cool, later.